I had a way then, losing it all on my own. I had a heart then, but
Hey guys, Husky-Flies here, back with another Litchi tutorial. This is going to be lesson number 2, which is delving a little deeper into the camera settings. To start off with, I am going to just do a quick review. If you watched lesson number 1, you got a quick rundown of the FPV screen. All this information should be familiar to you. As well as if you use the DJI Go app, it's pretty similar. But just as a quick refresher, on the right side of the screen you can see the cluster of camera settings. Outer left of that right side you have your gimbal tilt indicator that shows the current tilt of your gimbal. To the right top you have the slider that slides between the photo mode and the video mode. Below that you have your shutter button, which once again is showing that I don't have an SD card inserted. Below that is the actual camera settings menu, and that's what we're interested in today and are going to be delving into. So without further ado, we're just going to jump in, go ahead and hit that camera settings menu, and you can see on the left side now it has brought in our camera settings. We have image format, image size, white balance, video size, video standard, capture mode, saturation, metering, color, filter, sharpness, contrast, and hue. So pretty much all the stuff you're used to from the DJI Go app. There are a couple of differences I would like to point out. Namely, number one, if memory serves correctly in the DJI Go app, you have to be in the actual photo taking mode. On the right side of the screen there, you have to be flipped to the photo mode to access the photo settings, and you have to likewise be flipped to the video mode to access the video settings. It seems that here in Litchi they've combined both menus into one, which is convenient and nice. The second setting, or the second difference I would like to point out, is that sharpness, contrast, and hue have all been split into a separate menu. Previously in DJI Go you would have a single menu that was called Style that would allow you to change those. In this, sort of a minor change, they've all been separated into 3 separate menus or settings that you can adjust individually, but really not too much of a difference there. So I expect you guys, with your familiarity with DJI Go, to really be kind of familiar with all of these settings, but just in case you're not, we're going to go through them. So image format is either RAW, JPEG, or JPEG and RAW, and that's just determining the format that your still photos are going to be taken in. Image size is the aspect ratio for your photos. You have your white balance, where you can change it to one of the presets, set it to automatic, or set your own custom. Just personally, I like 5600K. That's an almost perfectly neutral setting, so it's good for pretty much anything, and you know, if you want it cooler or warmer, you can edit in post-processing. Moving on, you have your video size, where you're going to set your video resolution and frames per second. Video standard, which will be NTSC or PAL, really up to you. Most people will say if you're living in Europe you should use PAL, if you're living in the States you should use NTSC, which really is not a bad idea. Next we have the capture mode. This is for your camera. So that's going to determine what capture mode you're in. You know, you have timed, you have auto exposure balance, where it takes several different pictures at different exposure levels, etc., etc. You have your saturation, which you can turn up and down, your metering, which you can set to different values, color filter, sharpness, contrast, and hue. So once again, just going through all of those really quickly, because I have a feeling that you guys are all familiar with all of them, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this tutorial short. So one thing that threw me off when I was first starting to use Litchi was manual camera control. If you guys remember in DJI Go, that was an actual slider that you flipped on the app itself. This Litchi does not seem to have any such slider, and it kind of threw me off. I wasn't sure exactly how to manage it, but actually it is very easy and just kind of went over my head. So you're actually looking for a button on the transmitter itself, and it's that front right knob is what you're looking for, which is your camera settings knob. So what you want to do with that knob is you want to long press it in, basically hold it in for 2 or 3 seconds, and you're going to get something like this.
Exposure set to manual.
So as you could hear there, the Litchi app is giving you audio feedback on exactly what you've done, which is something I really like about it. DJI Go gives you a little bit of audio feedback, but not nearly as much as you can configure Litchi to. So as you heard, with it long pressed in, you've now switched over to manual exposure, which means you can manually adjust the ISO and shutter speed yourself, and the camera is not going to automatically do anything as long as you have the white balance set to manual as well. Now, depending on what device you're using, you may get audio feedback as to what you're controlling. It might say you are controlling the shutter speed or you're controlling the ISO. Once you're set into this manual mode, then all you have to do is short press it, just tap that knob, and it will switch between the two. Even if you don't get the audio feedback, it's pretty easy to figure out which one you're controlling. So basically, you long press and hold it in to switch between automatic and manual exposure settings. When you're in the manual mode, you short press it, basically just tap it to shift between whether the knob controls ISO or shutter speed. And again, you can pretty easily figure out which one is just by rotating that knob up or down and looking at this bar up here and seeing exactly which of those two values change. So for those of you who out there who sort of desire the manual control or whatever, this is how you obtain it in Litchi. I know I am pretty preferential to manual control myself, particularly mixed with neutral density filters. I think you can get some really great footage out of the Phantom when using it that way. But if for whatever reason, again, you wish to switch back to automatic and you're already in manual exposure mode, you're just going to long press that knob again and you will hear something like this.
Exposure set to auto.
So I know this was a pretty short tutorial today, guys, but cherish it while it lasts, because up next is going to be coming the main menu settings, which I think is going to be considerably longer. But that was a quick overview of the camera settings within the Litchi app and how exactly to switch between manual exposure settings and automatic exposure settings. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope this tutorial helped. If it did, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Thanks.